Wanted to talk to them about this marvelous person in the Old Testament named Melchizedek. Now, understanding this man Melchizedek and his ministry and how it relates and prefigures the ministry of Jesus Christ is an exciting path of study for believers. And he wanted to launch out onto it. But in the middle of talking about this Melchizedek guy, he says, stop, wait a minute. If you take a look at verse 25, or verse 11, he talks about Melchizedek. He says, of whom we have much to say, and hard to explain, since you become dull of hearing. In other words, I want to tell you more about Melchizedek, but you guys are dull in your hearing. There's something wrong. There's something arrested in your spiritual development that needs attention. And he goes on in verse 12 of Hebrews chapter 5, where though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first principles of the oracles of God. And you come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food belongs to those who are of full age. That is, those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. He's rebuking his readers because they should have been more mature than they are given the number of years they've been following after Jesus Christ. So then he comes right into verse 1 in chapter 6. Let's remember in the original Greek that they wrote in, there were no chapter or verse divisions. It was one long section. You know, John wasn't writing the Gospel of John and said, John 3:16, that sounds catchy. I'll do a good one for that. No, it didn't work like that at all, of course. Chapter and then verse divisions came in much later. And it says in verse 1 of Hebrews 6, therefore, leaving the discussion of the elemental principles of Christ, let us go on to perfection. Now, there are two important words here that I think we need to take a look at, or phrases. One of them is two words put together, where it says in verse 1, leaving the discussion of the elementary principles of Christ. That phrase, elementary principles, has the idea of ABCs. You know, the rudiments, the fundamentals, the basic building blocks, the foundational building blocks. Now, the foundational building blocks are necessary, aren't they? If you don't have a foundation, your building's going to crumble. But what good is a structure if it's just a foundation?